Every time I look at my theme song at the beginning, I always wonder if I did a good job because too many images, too fast. But there is so much to show in Tuscia. Let me give you an example. This fantastic view didn't even make the cut because there are so many beautiful spots to show. But, thank God, tonight we're going to talk about about Tuscany with a good friend. Her personal history is fantastic, and she eventually decided for Tuscania. But I will ask her about it. Please do pay attention to the fact that she could have lived everywhere in the world. In fact, she did, and then she decided Tuscania for the end. Okay, here we go. Gloria, good evening. How are you?
Hi, Giulio. Thank you so much for inviting me here in your famous terrace.
It's my pleasure. Can I spoil it a little bit and say that you have been a ballerina and you went all over the world and you had the greatest time in history? Is that right?
Well, it's a long life, right? And it feels like another life. But then when I think about it, there's a coherence somehow. Well, I actually started with a passion of music, but I didn't do anything professionally with it. And then it ended up that my profession was, ballerina, dancer, and in the first part, and then choreographer when I went to the US. So I danced in Italy, and from 77 to 84, and then I spent 15 years in New York, where I choreographed and I danced with other people who were coming from all over the world.
Actually, and, Gloria, I really don't know much about New York. I mean, I know of New York, but I cannot say that I know much. Why don't you open a window for us? So, of course, from the eyes of an artist, what did you see when you were in New York?
Well, first of all, I saw something that doesn't exist anymore because it's a city that changes so much, so quickly. And when I arrived, it was like in the 80s, like 84, 85, was the end, the last part of an important time. It was in the 70s. New York exploded with the new experiment and theater and dance and music everywhere. And I was at the end of that. And some of the artists that I admire in the dance world and theater world, they were leaving the city at that time because it was becoming very expensive to live there and etc. But I was lucky to still have some flavor of that very stimulating, inspiring environment, which was the downtown New York and Manhattan. I was living in Brooklyn, actually, but it was also very stimulating to be in a place with people from all over and different cultures. For me, it was fantastic. It was very stressful.
I have a different question. Let's say not only about that time. What were you looking for?
What I was looking for in New York?
In life.
Life. Whoa. What different question. I think I'm a little bit of a visionary. So I follow my visions usually. And when there was a point in my life in America where I had this idea of coming back to my country, I felt like I could never, in another place, I could never find the same energy that it's in my land with the place where I was from. And then I had this idea of, from New York, to go back and find a nice country place where I could make a base, and then to spread what I had learned over the years when I was away. And that actually was slowly, step by step, it what happened. I found Tuscania, and I founded a center.
Gloria, forgive me. Please explain what you are about to explain with the pictures. So you create this magical space. What is this?
Well, this is Casanave. It's a houseboat. I don't know how to translate it, Casanave, but when I arrived and saw this place, it was not this place. What was like a little house that was facing the walls, the ancient walls of Tuscania. And I imagined this. I imagined to transform it into something that was landing, was arrived into a harbor, even though there was no sea in Tuscania. But I love the sea, and I wanted to imagine this coming on board for an experience and then arrive in this place. And so,
for example, what is this experience that we are looking at?
We are looking at people sitting in a circle during a body-mind centering training course. But that's what one of the things I found it is a center for somatic movement education, body-mind centering, an approach to re-education and to finding an integration balance between body and mind. And it's very much based on community and learning together. This is a moment where people come after experiences they have done through movement, voice, and then they share. They share what the experience has been. And so
this is what you meant by you got some experience on know-how around the world, and you decided you're looking for a place where to convey that in a message. Is that what was happening?
Yeah, well, yes, I was the traveler for a long time. I went to different places even before establishing again myself in Italy. I've been in Amsterdam, in Holland, and in Switzerland, and somehow in Europe. I wasn't sure where to put my roots, right? But I had met so many people all over the world who were had in common this experience of somatic work, of the body-mind work. So and somehow
do you mind if I ask you a technical question? So, for example, this one, what's happening here?
Okay, so this was a class where I was showing with an assistant, actually a colleague, she's also a teacher. I was demonstrating how we would do an exercise, or let's say an exploration, based on the nervous system release. Like I was touching the head, and then later she lowered her head and rolled down the spine to release the central nervous system. And we do work with different body systems. And then sometimes you have to let go of the nervous system control to open up to other qualities, the qualities of the fluids, of the blood, of the organs. And so that was a moment of showing the students a first beginning exercise of releasing the nervous system. That was, touch is a very important tool we have, like to communicate, to transmit our experience to another body through the hands. And the hands are very specialized. They are very intelligent part of our body. And somehow they don't manipulate, but they pass an information to another body and receive from the body that they are touching, to constantly have a loop of feedback with what our experience is. So this work is very relational too. You know, we learn from each other.
I don't think we should get more in detail because it's an experience, it's a class, it's a week, it's an experience, as you said. So there is some energy to place, meaning if I want to, I can get to you and you lead me through this experience. So that's enough for now. But I want to ask you one thing. So why Tuscania? Why, when you saw this one fantastic little place, you decided this is it? This is the place where I want to be?
well, we don't choose everything. Sometimes things chooses us. So it happened that I saw this beautiful place when I was 16 years old with a school trip. And then I forgot completely this experience. For years and years, I would say, well, where did they take us with the bus to Tuscia? And then when I came back from the States, a friend, she's Silvana Barbarini, she's a dancer, we were dancing together, and she is doing activity in Tuscany, invited me. And that was already, 98, like a long time ago. And then all of a sudden, I rediscovered this is the place where I came when I was young, and I felt that was a sign, it was an omen somehow. And I stayed and I made friends with other people, and then everything happened like an avalanche. I was invited to teach. I had a good results with special needs people, adults with special needs, because I was applying by the Human Century to work with them. And so I got a job to the public health for 6 years. I worked there, and then I put my roots in Tuscany. That was my place.
So let me just add one little piece. Definitely the place is fantastic, but the people make a difference. And you mentioned, here and there, people invite me, friends here, found. I want to show this picture because, of course, it's me, but it just happened to be. But I am with one of your collaborators, one of your very close allied. And in the back, there is, I think, 200, 300 people, I don't remember, that came for one of your events. So why don't you tell me about the people you work with?
Yes, this is Martina, and that was another gift from Providence. I don't know. She came as a trainee after she just had a degree in economy, and then she did an apprenticeship with us, with me. And then she stayed. That was 1914. And since then, she collaborated with Human Century. And then later, when we created and founded an association, she also joined other activities that not just the Human Century, but cultural activities. And now she's the creator of a wonderful project that she created, and she's now organizing. And that was the picture. It was the first edition in Sull'onda del Gusto. I don't know how to, on the wave of taste, something about tasting and food and production.
Actually, can you tell us your personal relationship with food, and of course, lend to on the wave of taste and flavor and so forth?
Well, I eat everything. I like food. But the life I run, unfortunately, is a little bit, everything goes fast, and I'm not always, cooking and sitting, and sometimes I go around and grab a piece of something, a sandwich or a pizza. But I do appreciate the cultural aspect of food, going in a place and then eating the special food of that place, and food trips are wonderful in Italy because it's so various also. And then we have very good products in Tuscia.
We definitely do. Gloria, just wait a second. I want to say hi. Hi, Bjorn. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Bjorn, I am online with Gloria Desideri from Tuscania. Bjorn is now in Farnese. So
hello.
Let me introduce the two of you guys. Hi.
Nice to meet you, Bjorn.
Yeah, you too. Thank you, Gloria.
Bjorn, we should invite Gloria to come to Farnese the 6th and the 7th when we are going to have Tuscia in Fiore. And you should take her around and show her how marvelous is the Borgo di Pinocchio.
Sure, I will
That'd be
love to
fun.
do that. I hope she speaks better English than I do my Italian, so we'll figure something out, I'm sure.
Bjorn, your English is fantastic. Gloria's English is fantastic. You guys will not have any problem communicating, for sure.
Perfect.
Yeah, well,
So,
looking forward.
Bjorn, you stay with me and let me say goodbye to Gloria. So, Gloria, it has been fun to do this jump
Yes,
in your life, a little quick, but I'm incredibly happy that we finished while we were talking about the food and how fantastic is the food in Tuscia.
yes. Well, thank you very much.
Well, I
Yeah.
want to tell everybody to visit Tuscany if they have a chance. That is in Tuscia, this fantastic land hidden between Rome and Tuscany. And Tuscany is definitely where Gloria is. When you arrive in Tuscany, ask around, say, "Where is Gloria?" And everybody will know it.
No, well, ask for Casanave. That's getting more
Casanave,
famous.
Casanave,
And if you want
Casanave.
some beautiful music, we also have food and music in Casanave.
I thank
Okay.
you very, very much. And I'm going to
Thank
take
you.
a 30-second
Ciao,
break
Bjorn.
showing a little
Yes,
commercial
see
for
you in
Tusciazione.
Venezia.
And Bjorn, don't move, eh? Stay there, Bjorn.
I will stay put.
Bye.
Bye, Gloria. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye bye.
Hi, Bjorn. How are you doing? Everything okay?
Everything's fine.
So I have to tell you, I am a little bit hesitant conversing with you because of course, my big operation is to promote Tuscia and to tell everybody how gorgeous it is. But going through your web page, which I want to show from the get-go because it's more than worth it visiting. Um, Going through your web page, it's obvious that you have seen so much. But let's go in order. So before talking about where to go, let's go back to Bjorn when he was a kid and your first camera and your first job and so forth. If you can, open a window on the Norway of that time and tell us what was your life like.
Well, I'm born in Hammerfest, which actually is the northernmost town in the world. It's close to the North Cape, and that's where I grew up, far away from Italy. I went to school, and then, of course, like everybody else, and until I was, I think, 14, I got a camera. I bought it from my hard-earned salary as a paper boy. And I bought the camera and I took it with me to the US when I was 16, and I was an exchange student over there. And that's basically how it started with my career as a journalist. I took expository writing and creative writing in the US, and I was enthused with the whole thing that I started actually in my local newspaper up in the north.
Before you go on, let me ask you one thing. So you had your first camera, maybe a present, who knows? And then at some point it was natural for you to write. Why?
It's a good question. My mother actually pushed me to start reading very early, quite heavy books, and I kind of pushed myself into literature that way. And I think to be a good writer, you need to read good literature, not superficial stuff, but actually you need to be engaged in the literature, and that's how I became enthused. At the same time, I read about Marco Polo, of course, Marco Polo's adventure, and that's also how I happened to get into travel writing further up on the road. So So it was a lot of things coming together actually at that time in my formative years in my teens.
So let me jump ahead a little bit. Your, I believe, 20 years experience with the local paper in your place, right?
I worked up there until 1986. For 6 or 7 years, I did everything. I was also editor up there, and it was quite a big newspaper actually.
I want to ask you a question about that because it's not easy to write a bio, no? But you wrote about the people that you learn from, which is
Yes,
very interesting. So,
yes, I did.
so a second ago, I asked you about your writing, and you told me about your mother. So it feels like you're a very humble man for such an accomplishment, man. So this is very intriguing. Is that right?
Well, I suppose it comes with age a little bit. You become more relaxed about these things. To be able to excel, you have to use your elbows a little bit. Maybe when you're younger, but to be honest, I never pursued a career. I more or less did what I wanted to do, and it was to take pictures and travel. So I started in my newspaper up north, and then I came to Oslo. And after a couple of years in Oslo, I started branching out, doing feature photography and feature writing for different magazines as a freelancer. And that's basically how my travel writing career took off. So
Do you mind while we talk if I show your webpage? There are
mhm.
so many fantastic images, and one thing that everybody writes about you is that you are able to make me feel, which is completely true. And I've been mesmerized looking at your webpage. That's why I really open with it, and I still want to point out. I think people should go and look at it because there is so much, and I'm captivated. So you are definitely a photographer that can get me to feel a bunch of emotion.
That
And
picture is from Italy, by the way.
there we go. So I want you to describe to us what is showing. It's in a loop, so you can take your time.
Well, that's Norway.
Sorry.
The picture, the initial picture, also the guy with the Sami features, he's also Norway. This is also Norway. It's a fishing village up north, not too far from my home. Also Norway. This is further south. This is the midnight sun, and this is Cuba. So
This is Cuba, really?
yes, and this is Cairo. You don't see the pyramids
I
clearly,
don't.
but this is Sri Lanka. This is surfers in Sri Lanka, and this is Italy, actually, close to the Garda Lake.
Oh,
And this
yes.
is in Ethiopia. So
Well,
again, in Lofoten
I,
Islands. Yes.
I really, 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 really strongly suggest to go and check your webpage, and that's why I'm showing the link
Hmm.
because it's an experience. So now I want to ask you something. So clearly you like to travel, no? And you have been connected to the Way to Go website, no, for the last few years of your work life, and clearly you could have gone everywhere, anywhere. Why
Yeah,
Tuscia? Why
well,
Farnese?
why Farnese? It's a good question. As a travel writer, you kind of jump from one place to the next. You stay no longer than maybe 3 weeks at the place, and then you move on to the next. So my motivation for coming to Italy and find a place to stay for a longer time was actually to find this place and really get to know it, the inside of a place in Italy. Italy has always been a place where I wanted to stay for a longer period of time, and I've been here many times as a writer and photographer. Farnese was a happenstance. It just happened. It was a house that was for sale in Norway. Two Norwegian guys wanted to sell this place, and my girlfriend at the time, we decided to just check it out, and we bought it actually before we had seen the place. So it's a little bit by chance, to be honest, but I fell in love with it. I really love this place, and I hope to stay here for longer periods of times in the future.
How often do you come?
Depends. We are staying here. I've been here for 5 years now. So every summer, last summer I was here for 3 months, and I hope to stay longer. And then I maybe 2 3 weeks in between the summers. Uh, with my work, I can actually travel out of Fiumicino, Rome, to go wherever I want. So it's also quite practical to stay here. The tickets are actually cheaper often to go to the US or to Asia from Fiumicino. So for me, it's a good way to work actually here. The only downside I would say, and this is something I think Italy has a problem with, is the Wi-Fi. I have a big issue with getting my Wi-Fi going here because I upload and download big files, and sometimes it's a bit sketchy, to be honest.
I believe you. So let me add one little arrow to my arch, meaning now I can tell from a professional point of view, it's better to live in Tuscia, so you can go to Fiumicino and be wherever you want in the world in a few hours instead of
Yes.
living in some other remote place. Very good. So thank you very much. Now I want to ask you another type of thing. So in your webpage, there is this a significant part about smiles, right?
Yes.
So this is very cute and very interesting. But I want to ask you, of course, a question that brings you back to Tuscia, okay? So the question I want to ask you is, please describe the smile and the interaction, and how is your connection with Farnese. But before you answer, I want to give you a few seconds to think. I want to show another little video about Tuscia and Fiore of last year, actually.
Sure.
And so you have a little time of think. So I really
Okay.
want to have your opinion about your interaction with the people from Farnese. Give me 15 seconds.
Sure.
By the way, it goes without saying that if you want to do an article or a work on Tuscia and Fiore, we will be very pleased. So,
Well, we'll see.
let's see.
I have okay. Since you were mentioning the Fractured Smiles project,
Yes.
it's a portrait project that I kind of started 7-8 years ago. I meet a lot of people. My forte is actually hooking up with people, meeting them, and interact. That's why I travel. I don't necessarily love to travel. I love to meet people, and that's my motivation. And actually, the Fractured Smiles project was a way to pay back, to take pictures of people in a special way. It's a kind of a Mona Lisa approach to those people, and I'm trying to tell their stories, the short stories about who they are, where they are, and so forth. So Fractured Smiles, and I also use post-production elements so they become a little bit more timeless. So I use kind of analog approach to the post-processing of the images. And I did.
So, going back to Farnese, what is your impression about the people in Farnese? What is their smile? Is it a calm smile? Is it happy? Is it frustrated? What do you feel?
I'm putting on the spot here. Yes. I don't know. It's just, I think the Italian people are especially friendly. They have this way of being. They always greet you, whoever they are. They always greet you. Buongiorno, buonasera, all these things. We don't do that in Norway. It's for me, it's so important. It's kind of the interaction. It's, using those small hellos are so important. And I think here in Farnese, I feel at least that people have taken me into their midst, because I'm a person who actually do engage in people as much as I can. Of course, we have this issue with the language, and I need to improve my Italian to be able to do it even more. But
Bjorn, let me ask you: do you drink wine or beer?
Yes, I do.
So you have to practice Italian after a couple of beers. Not in the
I did
morning, no
today.
coffee.
I have
No
this lovely neighbor Mario and his wife Eliana, and they took me to this pranzo today. And of course, I had to practice my Italian, but the problem is that people speak so fast. They don't. That's the one issue I have because, and I say piano, piano, but no, they after a couple of minutes they are off again, and I struggle with that. But well, of course, they get become very engaged, and this is also something that I like. They are very, very engaged people. They are really interested, and which is a sweet, sweet thing.
Let me tell you, you're very sweet yourself because what you describe as engaged, I would describe as people talk on top of each other, they yell at each other, and they go on a
Yes,
tangent continuously. In fact, my wife sort of speaks and understands Italian. Every time she's in Italy with me and we talk about something or whatever, every 15 years she asks me, "Are you guys fighting? Are you guys fighting?"
exacto.
That
That's
makes it
yeah.
very hard to understand us. It's
But,
very hard.
but actually, it's a little bit the same where I come from in the north of Norway. Poor people in the north of Norway are also a little bit like that. So I can actually relate more to that than my girlfriend who is from the south. She also think, are they quarreling? What are they doing? No, no, no. It's just a debate. I mean, it's a way of being. It's yeah.
That is correct. So let me ask you about another thing. So you travel all over, right? Where do you
Mhm.
feel at home? Only in the north of Norway?
No, that's it's difficult to describe. We have a Norwegian author, Knut Hamsun. He won the Nobel Prize in literature. He has this saying that you can feel like a stranger in your own country in a way that not a stranger but a traveler in your own country. You don't have those strong ties to your terra, and I feel a little bit like that actually. I don't have that big pull to my hometown. I love my hometown. I love the area and the people, but I don't have that pull. So I have actually more of a pull going to Farnese than to my hometown, to be
That
honest.
is very cool.
Yeah, it is.
So let me ask you a little bit of a stupid question. So when you were a kid, did you know about Pinocchio?
Of course, everybody did.
Everybody did. That is
Yes,
so cool. My position is that there are only two words that everybody in the world knows. One is Pinocchio and one is conclave. Conclave is because the Pope, right? And that's from
exactly.
Viterbo.
Yes.
And Pinocchio is from Farnese.
It's
Tuscia
like
in
they.
the center of the world.
Okay, so it's like Santa Claus is from Finland, right? Everybody
That's
thinks it's
right.
from. Yes.
That's right. But depending, different countries, they translate it different ways, right? For example, we call
True.
it Babbo Natale, right?
See.
So Pinocchio is Pinocchio. There is no translation. Conclave is conclave. There is no translation.
Right.
That's
Gotcha.
just unique about this word. I don't know why. And when you say this, when you do this, everybody says Pinocchio, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
We
all over
talk
the
about
world.
long noses, and everything relates to that story. Of course, yes.
That's right. Okay,
Yeah.
so I want to thank you, but before letting you go, I want to ask you: is there anything you want to tell me that I didn't let you say?
No, any specific topic? No, I think more people should visit Farnese. I think Farnese is a hidden gem in Italy and in the world. And I see a lot of potential for this amazing village and the people living here. So, yeah, that's
I
my final.
Thank you so very much. I want to show you again. I want to show the website. It's totally worth it, taking a look. I enjoy it tremendously. Bjorn, of course, I enjoy talking to you. Thank you for the other night when we talked about Farnese very quickly. And I'll be in Farnese in the week, so hopefully we'll have a chance to meet up.
Let's do that. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you, my friend. I want
Yeah.
to show another little video about Tuscia in Fiore, and I invite everybody to look for us on our web page and rather Facebook page, Tuscia in Fiore. I thank Bjorn from Farnese, and I say next Tuesday for everybody in English. Bye bye, Bjorn.
Bye.
Regista, com'è andata oggi?
Bene, benissimo, come sempre. Ci vediamo alla prossima, Giulio.
Dalla Tuscia